Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on today's session. We're going to be talking all about how to accelerate your lead flow with Google Ads. And when we think about marketing our funeral homes and crematories, there's so many things that we consider, and there are just so many variables. So we're going to just go deep on paid search as in a narrow strategy that we can really double down on. So let's just get all these points out. So what we're going to be covering on today's session, really, we're going to be talking about why paid ads is really important, right? And really the key to unlimited scalability in terms of lead flow for your funeral home or your crematory services. You know, while we definitely want to have this as part of the strategy as opposed to just doing SEO or just doing local service ads, for instance, we'll be talking about the paid strategies that are working best in today's market, right? So we're going to be going over marketing budgets. We've all got growth aspirations, but we want to make sure that we're spending the dollars in areas that are going to give us the best return on investment, right? And so we'll talk about the paid marketing strategies that are working best. We'll look at some examples of funeral homes and crematories and how they could get 5 to 15 times their return on investment from paid search. And then we'll talk about how to set up your Google Ads campaign strategy so that you can reduce your cost and really maximize your return on investment. And then we'll talk a little bit about the KPIs and tracking landing pages, campaign structure, all the things that you want to be thinking about if you're spending money or if you're going to be spending money on paid advertising strategies. Who am I? So just in case for those who don't know, my name's Oscar Guerrero. I'm the founder of Funeral Marketing Pros. We are a digital marketing agency that is dedicated strictly to helping funeral homes and crematories. I have over 10 years of hands-on experience in different aspects of digital marketing, from technical SEO to meta ads and email marketing. We definitely have a track record of success. I've helped hundreds of small to medium-sized businesses generate over $100 million. And I'm also a seven-figure agency mentor that helps smaller marketing agencies become million-dollar businesses. And a little bit about our company, Funeral Marketing Pros. We are on a mission to really triple the calls of 1,000 funeral homes. And doing this type of educational work is really a big part of accomplishing that mission. So for some of you, it's the insights and it's the information that you need that are really going to help you go out and implement some of this. And we feel really great about that. And for those of you who really feel like it's great to learn about it, but you prefer to align with us and have us implement these strategies for you, if that's what you're looking for, we'd love to invite you on a call with us to see where your funeral home currently is and where you'd like to be, and see if we can help you get there. To schedule that call, just go over to our website, funeralmarketingpros.com. You can click on schedule a call there, or just go to funeralmarketingpros.com/strategy. Now, so let's have a look at the accelerated growth model, right? And really, we're looking at different things that we can do to maximize our lead flow. These are things that we need to do to accelerate the number of people who are calling our funeral homes. So number one, obviously, is we've got to drive leads, right? We have to have strategies to get the phone ringing, to get new inquiries, to get new leads into the business. Now, number two is we have to maximize conversion, right? If we're driving leads, but we're not converting the traffic into calls, and those calls into actual funeral services and cremations, then the marketing just isn't working, right? It's not going to work. We're not going to get the growth that we're after. And then number three is we need to optimize for results. So we have a bracket in place to figure out what's working best. Where do we spend our dollars? How do we accelerate our growth? And when it comes to driving leads, there's three key channels that we plug into. The first is organic. making sure that we're coming up in the non-paid listings and non-paid directories. Second is paid search. That's Google Ads. It's Facebook ads. It's all the paid strategies that we're going to be talking about today. And then third is database marketing, which is looking at your existing database and then reaching out to past next of kin and family and figuring out how to communicate with them via email, SMS, phone, so that we can engage them either in pre-need services or also so that we are top of mind when that family is at need again. So that's how we drive leads from there. Next, we have to maximize conversions. And really the three variables that matter most for conversions are your website. You want to make sure that your website is built to convert and it's got all the right conversion elements in place. You've got your phone number front and center. You put it that you're available 24/7. You have a chat widget on your website, right? Now, we want to make sure that the website is converting at least 25 to 30% from visitors to leads, right? The other thing that really has an impact on your conversions is your reputation. So is the amount of reviews that you have and what your customers are saying about you on Google, is it front and center as well, right? What are they saying? How many reviews do you have? This is going to be of utmost importance to conversion and trust. And if we have an amazing traffic strategy and our website's converting and it's fantastic, but we have a bad reputation with a lot of negative reviews, that's going to negatively impact your conversion rate. Or if you just don't have enough reviews. And then number three is automation, right? We find that in today's market, if we're not leveraging automation to follow up with people via phone, SMS, and email extremely quickly, we're missing out on a massive opportunity. So we need to have those automation sequences to follow up on unconverted opportunities in place, right? That's a big opportunity. So we're going to drive leads. We want to maximize conversion. And then ultimately, we've got to optimize for results, right? Now, how much we are spending to hit those growth targets and what we're looking for, understanding what your average cost per lead is and putting a metric on that, and then ultimately figuring out what's generating the best results and doubling down on those areas. And, as I think about online marketing, I'm thinking about this accelerated growth model. And really, we try and focus. This is what we try to focus on day in and day out, right? We want to drive leads, maximize conversion, optimize results. And today, we're just going to zoom in on paid search specifically, right? And if you want to look at other trainings that I've done on other aspects of the growth model, let me know. I'd be happy to send you over links to those trainings as well, where I have gone in deeper on conversion on your website, SEO, and things like that. So that's the big picture, right? I wanted to zoom out for a second before we get into specifics on paid advertising and just, show today, this is what we're focusing on. We want to drive leads, maximize conversion, optimize results. And again, my favorite play when you're looking for immediate results is going to be paid ads. So the reason I think paid search is such an important component of your overall marketing strategy is, number one, it gives you the ability to show up quickly, right? When we do SEO, and of course, we do SEO as an agency, we place a lot of emphasis on getting the website ranked by creating pages and creating content and building links and citations and authority to get those pages to rank. Now, there's a gestation period for that. If we create a page today, I'm going to go and get an index tomorrow, and there's other competition that already has links and citation, and it could be months before we actually start to get to show up towards the top, right? Or maybe even longer than that before that page starts to rank. So one of the beautiful things about page search is that we can set up a Google Ads campaign today. We can make sure that the budget is set correctly. We can pick the right keywords, and we can show up as often as possible where our clients are looking. Now, when someone gets to Google, and that's number one place somebody searches when they are at need, we can come, we want to come up obviously organically, right? We want to come up towards the top of the page, towards the map. We'd like to have our directory listing. Let's say if we're on Yelp or, Harding.com, those sites. But what you'll also find is LSA or local service ads today come up at the top, and Google ads come up directly underneath that. And so if we're not doing local service ads, we're not investing in paid ads, and we're not showing up in some of the most prominent spots that our customers are looking. And while I'm not saying just do paid search, I do think that we want to have a strategy in place where we're focused on coming up in as many of the search results as possible. It also gives us the ability to show up for more geo-modified terms. So some people will go in and they'll type in, funeral home in Chicago, and others will type in cremation near me. So with Google Ads, we can make sure that we're just laser targeting the people that typed in cremation near me in the immediate areas that we serve. And so I love the idea that we can show up for some of the keywords, and we might not be able to target on a national scale based on the geography from which that person is searching. And I think the biggest reason paid search is an overall online marketing strategy is that really it gives us unlimited scalability. It's a knob that we can turn, and we can say, as we're growing and as we're scaling, we're going to put a new location. We're opening up another funeral home, a secondary, a third one, right? We're going to hire more people at this location. And right when we open our doors, we can turn on these ads and we can start getting calls. And really, that's the magic of paid ads. So I wanted to walk through the model that I put through as I was thinking about what's the right model to think about your paid search strategy and to optimize your paid search strategy. And really, in my mind, there's three key strategies for paid, right? There's paid search when it comes to Google ads, running Google ads and coming up in the pay-per-click listings. There's local service ads, which is the Google guaranteed that comes up at the top. But I also think that when it comes to search, we want to be doing retargeting as well, which is making sure that when somebody gets to our website, we're pixeling them, and then we can start to advertise to them again through banner ads and through display ads and through Facebook ads and other ads of that nature, because usually we're seeing like a 20 to 30% conversion rate from visitor to lead. And what's going on with the other 80%, right? Maybe, they got on the website and they got busy. Think about, you have to put yourself in the shoes of perhaps a person who's at need, or a person who has a loved one in hospice and they're searching and they get to your website, but that's not the right moment to call or even to schedule an appointment. So then they get distracted and they move on to something else. But we already know they were on your website because they need your services, right? So at that point, for a very low cost, you can remarket to those people through display advertising, right? And then you can actually get them to come back onto your website and eventually make that phone call. So when it comes to paid search, those are the top three. And then after that, you have social advertising, which would be Facebook ads and YouTube ads and TikTok ads. And there's a brand play in mind to be had here. And we're constantly testing these social advertising platforms. And there's a huge difference in intent. If you think about somebody that went to Google and typed in funeral home or cremation or funeral home near me, they're most likely at need, right? We can't target that same intent with paid social. We can, however, know that they're in our service area and we can put advertising in front of them. But again, YouTube ads and Facebook ads is more of a branding play because they aren't necessarily in need at that time. So this is a lot like buying a billboard ad. You could also use social media to introduce pre-need to people, but again, immediate ROI is nothing like paid search. Okay. And then you've got your pay per lead directories, which, love them or hate them, they're another place where we can get opportunities and leads that, from Harding.com, Yelp, farewelling.com, and others. So, and if you've got good automations in place and you understand how to play the game, you recognize that, there's going to be a bunch of different funeral homes in those listings. And it's going to be the first person to get their attention. And usually at the lowest price is going to be the one that gets these cases. So I like to think of these paper lead opportunities as, if you got downtime and you're not getting the lead flow that you need, and you just at least need another opportunity that you can tap into just to keep the lights on, then that may be something that you want to consider. And so if I think about this from a hierarchical perspective, how we should roll out paid search, first of all, we've got organic. So let's just fill all these in for you. All right. So we've got organic, right? And I don't think it makes a ton of sense to be spending a lot of money on Google Ads or any other paid advertising strategies if you don't have a good website that's coming up organically, that is targeting the low-hanging fruit, the low-hanging opportunity, right? What we find is your highest quality lead and your lowest cost per lead is going to come from organic rankings. Those are those non-paid listings. So I really think that's the base. And we want to get that nice and strong up from there, right? You want to leverage paid search, especially with local service ads. We pay close attention to this because really what we want to know is what's getting the best return on investment? What's getting the lowest cost per lead right now, right? Is it the local service ads, the Google Guaranteed program? If we can get consistent in the top, showing up in the top three, what's also known as a 3-pack, and we play the game correctly, that's getting a lower cost per lead and a higher return on investment at this exact moment. But I think in addition to that, we want to be doing Google Ads, because Google Ads with local service ads and a strong organic footprint is getting that directional opportunity. It's all those people that are in the market searching for your services. Most of them are searching by mobile phone, and most of them that are going on Google are at need. So those are the customers we want to capture. And these 3 strategies really cover that. You absolutely want to make sure that you've also got retargeting and automation in place. So retargeting, I talked about briefly, but it's just pixeling everybody that gets to your website and serving banner ads to them. And if you're spending money on SEO and you're spending money on Google Ads, it's a shame if you're not running some type of retargeting to bring those people back, right? Especially, obviously, those that don't convert, which is if somebody does start, a chat on your website, or somebody does fill the web form, or somebody does call in, and for some reason you missed that call, you want to have automations to follow up with them via SMS, follow up with them via email quickly and effectively so that you don't drop the ball, right? Now, if we don't leverage automation, we're really missing a big portion of our conversion opportunity. And when you start to spend on these types of advertising and you don't convert every lead, it can get really hard to monetize. So going up from there, we have our paid directories, and then we've got more of the branding play in mind, right? Which is your Facebook ads, your TikTok ads, your YouTube ads. And where I see funeral homes struggle a lot of times is they've got this pyramid inverted, right? Usually they're spending a lot of money, or they're spending more than they should on Facebook ads, or somebody told them, hey, Facebook is where it's at. This is where, you need to invest most of your time and money, and we need to be running Facebook ads. And they're spending a lot of money there, but they're not getting a lot of leads, and they're not getting a lot of sales. And they're like, what's going on? If you don't have a strong organic foundation, you're not really playing local service ads and paid search, you're missing out on the biggest foundation of your opportunity. So I just want to spend a little time to walk through that hierarchy and kind of the thought process behind how I think this should be approached. So with that in mind, the number one first thing we want to be really leveraging and playing all out on is local service ads, right? This is also commonly referred to as the Google Guaranteed Program. LSAs, it's also known as LSAs. But if you run a search in many markets now, like funeral home in San Antonio, cremation in San Antonio, whatever city that you may be in, at the very top, you will typically see local service ads that are running. Now, usually they will have 3 funeral homes at the top, and those 3 funeral homes will be rotating. Interestingly enough, though, this has caught on in many other industries, but in the funeral home industry, it hasn't caught on. So there is just a ton of opportunity here. Now, there's a very specific strategy that you want to put in place to make sure that you're spending enough, right? You want to get your profile set up correctly. You want to feed the data back to Google so that you can remain in the top 3 of those listings. And I'll get into that a little bit more. So basically, we have to get the account set up. We have to dial in the service area, the profile, the budget. There's little nuances there. You'll have to supply your license, your funeral license number there. They will do a background check on you as well. And the thing is that if you don't do it right, you're not going to be putting your best foot forward. We have to make sure that, the local service ads, the Google Guaranteed ads actually has a dashboard, and all the calls in that dashboard have to be marked, whether they're marked as booked or abandoned, whatever that may be. So you have to have all that going on. And once we're through the background process, then after that, your ads go live. So the key is, if you're running local service ads and you've got, a budget, you're getting those calls, they're coming into your funeral home, and you need to have somebody who's going into your dashboard and is actually marking the job as complete or abandoned, or disputing the call. It's very important that we're pushing the data back to Google, where they know how responsive you are, and they know that you're doing something with these leads and you're creating a great experience for their customers. And so we also have to deal with disputes, which means that leads can come in that perhaps are outside of your service area, or they're looking for services that you don't provide. And in those cases, those are calls that you don't have to pay for, but they have to be disputed with Google. So another thing that you could do is you can make sure that you're driving verified reviews back to your local service ads. So let's see here. There's reviews that you get on your Google Maps, right? But those are not the verified reviews, right? You can get verified reviews, which means the lead came in through your Google local service ads, and in the dashboard, you have the opportunity to request a review. And what's different in this case is that Google knows that the customer came from that ad, and they know specifically the service that they dialed in about. So if they dialed in for cremation, they know that's what they dialed in for. So you want, as often as possible, to make sure that you're not just using setting it and forgetting it. You're actually proactively looking for reviews and marking the leads. You can also use a review generation service like Podium. Over at Funeral Marketing Pros, we've built one out ourselves as well. We provide that to every single funeral home that we work with, because the idea is that we are constantly building the reviews and getting feedback from the families that we serve. So I highly recommend that you actually have somebody manually going into the dashboard of your Google local service ads, marking the leads, pushing the reviews. And then really what you're shooting for is you want to have an 85% booking rate, effectiveness ratio And typically what we've seen is when we do that, Google likes that feedback. They prefer you as a funeral home and they will show your ads more. You can do that yourself. You can have a person do it as well. And basically what we do is as an agency is that's part of the service that we provide, right? We manage the bidding, the budgets, and also actually sending the information back to Google and trying to and getting more reviews and managing those reviews as well. If you set it and forget it, this is going to be a channel that just doesn't work for you well. And keep in mind that pay-per-click listings have a range in costs that are keyword based. And this is different from local service ads. You're being charged per call, right? So let's see. Why do most Google Ads campaigns fail? Now, some of the feedback that I've gotten from a lot of people over the years is they've tried Google Ads in a variety of ways. Either they used Google Ads directly or they reached out another person to do it for them. They spent a lot of money. They didn't get a great return on investment. And I just want to walk through some of the main reasons that most Google Ads campaigns fail and what you can do differently in the way you approach the campaigns to generate a tangible measured return on investment. And so the number one reason most campaigns fail is because there's a failure to understand the nuances of the funeral industry. So if you're running those ads and you're doing pay-per-click, we're going to talk a little bit more about the different keywords that you could be using there, right? And really what you want to look at is you want to have, you don't want to run, there are broad searches, right? So if you set it up where all you're doing is setting up a broad search for funeral home, you can get funeral home and a bunch of other terms. You may get funeral home flowers and or funeral home florist, and you may not provide those services, right? So how you set that up as far as your ad group is concerned is very important, right? And then there's also the fact that there are specific text in the ads that you should be using, and that should be matching your avatar, who you're talking to. In this presentation, I will go through avatars that we reach out to. There's 10 avatars, and we write different text for each avatar depending on the services that you're offering and possibly even the areas that you're in. If you're in an area that is primarily doing low-cost cremation, then that what you're writing in your ads has to match that. You can't, you don't want to use other kinds of text, and I'll get into that a little bit more. And then the other thing is really your call to action and your landing page. Most people are running Google Ads directly to the website. The problem with that is that websites are distracting. People are going to get to your website and they're going to start reading reviews and they're going to start reading about this and reading about that. And really, you could lose them easily in that process. So in a nutshell, if I've looked at dozens of campaigns for funeral homes and crematories, and a lot of times what I see is that everything's all lumped together. It's all going to a homepage. It's got a low quality score, low relevancy, low conversion rate, a lot of money being spent, very little in terms of services. And what we do that's different is we actually look at each of the different keywords and create a separate ad group, very specific text ads that are taking people to very specific landing pages that will have them carry out very specific next steps. Let's go over how to structure, your Google Ads campaign. And this is how we do it in our agency. Now, number one, let's just get this up. Number one is we have to be tracking. If you're not tracking how many calls come in or how many web submissions you get, and if you don't track those inside the Google Ads platform, basically, if you're not passing the conversion data back to Google, then it's very hard to optimize around that. Okay? Campaigns have to be broken down into smaller ad groups and the various services that you provide. So If you do burials and you do cremation and you do life celebration and you do traditional funeral services, we want different ad groups for each of those. You have to really break that down so that when somebody types in one of those keywords, the ad that they see in Google Ads is going to show them the text that speaks to what they are looking for. And that will show relevancy. That means that when you have more relevancy, you have a higher click-through rate. And when you have a higher click-through rate, you have a higher quality score, right? When you have a higher quality score, Google will actually won't charge you as much for the click and will show your ad more often. Number three is you have to understand the different match types, right? I mentioned earlier there's broad and then there's other match types that you want to be paying attention to. So if you're like running broad match for funeral home, there's literally hundreds of different keywords that can spawn. So we want to be careful that we're not running just like a broad match term. And I'll talk a little bit more specifically about how to set up the campaign, but that's really important. You want to write compelling text ads as well. And it's not simple. It's not as simple as just writing a text ad that we think makes sense. Really, what we like to do different is because every market is based on competition, we like to look at what other text ads are running, right, in your area. So for instance, we can actually see like San Antonio funeral homes, what's coming up, who are the competitors, what are they saying in their text ad, what's their message, and really, what can we do to make you stand out? We're not looking at that stuff to copy them. We're looking at that stuff to see what can we do to make you stand out from them. Now, one of the key things is that your text ad is relevant to the searcher, right? It's compelling for them to want to click. It has to be compelling, right? What differentiates you from other text ads? And once you're able to actually create something that really gets people to click on your ad more, this will improve your quality score. And it's also more likely to get you the lead and to possibly have the person call you as well. So we want to leverage, another thing that we want to leverage is ad extensions. So, pardon me, Google gives you the ability to add a location extension, review extension. There's a lot of these little extensions, and we really want to differentiate the way that we show up on the page by having more ad extensions activated. When we do that, we also take up more space, and that gives us what looks like a more quality organization. And it also gives us more space on the actual search result, which makes it more likely that they're going to click, right? And we want to make sure that once they click, we want to make sure that we have a solid landing page that's really well thought out and it matches what they're looking for. But so we also want that page not to be as complex as the website. So if you think about your website, it's typically written with specific pages. Well, it should be written with specific pages for search engine optimization, right? We want to show up towards the top of Google. And the search, and it's supposed to give a lot of information, and it lets them, it has links to reviews about us, a lot of details. Really, what we want to do with our paid ads is drive them to a page with very little friction, where the person who clicks on it basically gets to a page and says, okay, this is a funeral home. They have what I need. They're not far from here. They can help me now. And possibly like, here's why I should choose them. And then keep them on that page and get them to convert and take action right then and there. So we have found that by using really well-tested landing pages, we can get much higher conversion rates from click to lead and or service. And then we need to be split testing, right? There's two things we want to be split testing, maybe more, but as a minimum, we are split testing our text ads. If we're running these ad groups that have two text ads, which one is getting a higher click-through rate? And then at the end, we'd say this one performed better. Now let's test a different variation. We're always trying to beat the control on our text ads and on our landing pages. So two versions of the landing page which one's going to convert better. This one's converting better based on the data, and we can double down on that over time. That's one of the reasons that our campaigns have typically outperformed others, because we do so much split testing. So take that data and constantly optimize. That's going to convert better and drive you better results as well. So the big thing here is, if you're not able to track what you spent, how many leads you got, which ad group actually drove that conversion, then you might as well just not run the ads, because really if you spent 2,000, 10,000, if you're not tracking the results, there's no way to optimize it. There's no way for us to actually win this game. There's too many other funeral homes that are running ads, and if they're tracking and you're not, they win, because they have the data that they need to optimize. So tracking is essential to all of this. Now, so tracking essentials, we like to use dynamic swapping, a dynamic swapping number, so that when somebody gets to a website from paid search versus organic, they see a different phone number. So we can say this call came from our organic listing. This call came from search engine optimization, SEO, and this other call came from pay per click, right? But we want to have a keyword pool that dynamically swaps. So let's just say within our cremation ad group, we've got cremation services, direct cremation costs, all those keywords. And in order for us to know which ad group and which text ad actually drove the lead, we need to swap the phone number back to the source, because most leads convert via phone number. And so we have a keyword pool with dynamic keyword insertion. Now, this gives us the ability to track which keywords are actually driving leads, which ad campaigns are actually generating leads. We have web form tracking, and then we have to make sure that the conversion data from whatever system we use, that when conversion happens, it fires back into Google Ads, so that the conversion actually doesn't get just tracked from a tracking perspective, but it's fed back into Google, so that Google can actually see that conversion, and then that can help with additional optimization opportunities that we can run. So some of the most important KPIs we want to know: how much did we spend during the period? And usually we're looking at a week, and we're looking at a month. What's the average cost per click in Google Ads? This is really important, because we've seen cost per clicks go as high as $230 to as low as $20. So you really have to keep an eye on your cost per click to keep that in control, but also to stay competitive in your market. Now, it could just be that if your cost goes up too high, it's possible that you actually just have a very low quality score. And we have to pay so much more to get that click. And then most importantly is the average cost per lead, right? Across funeral services, memorial planning, burial services, and whatever the different keywords are, we need to be able to track. We need to be able to track the average cost per lead within the death care industry, right? Now, we know that we have a spectrum here that goes between $20 to $200. So this can be super competitive depending upon the market. Now, general funeral services can run $50 to $100 per lead. Now, of course, we're shooting for $50 per lead, and all of these are just averages. When we're looking at massive markets like, Los Angeles and smaller markets, the average is typically going to be more in the larger markets, because there's just more search volume there and there's more competition. So this is still a very important KPI to track. And really what we want to know is, how much did we spend? We want to know our average cost per click, but most importantly, we want to know what's our ROI, right? What's our return on investment if we spent this much? How many leads did we get? But most importantly, how many calls were booked, and how much revenue did that actually generate for us? And so here's an example of a funeral home that spent, around $4,600 in ad spend and averaged $33 per lead. So they generated about 137 leads. They were able to close 55 of those leads, which generated about $200,000 in business. Now, regardless of where you're at in the spectrum of running your Google ads, ideally at a minimum, we're tracking how much do we spend, how many leads do we get, what are our average cost per lead, and if you're going to spend more, once you know that, do I want to get more aggressive with all of this? So, you know, just a second. All right. So earlier I mentioned the importance of text ads, and I think that this is really, if you're going to run ads, if you're going to run paid ads, this is one of the most important and oftentimes overlooked parts of running your ads. Text is super important to creating effective Google ads. It's really the first impression your potential customers get. And a key factor in whether they choose to click on your ad is, if they resonate with what it says. So what I'd like to do now is just dive into why the text is so important and how it can speak to different avatars or customer personas. There are about 10 customer avatars when it comes to funeral services, and how you craft your text is going to affect if the avatar that you're targeting will actually click on your ad. So the 10 avatars include, number one, the planner, right? These are just people who like to plan ahead, even in difficult times. All right. And I've given you some keywords or words, phrases, keywords that you can use when writing those ads for those people. Second is the caregiver. For those who are caregivers to elderly family members, the focus should be on ease and support, right? Then we have the traditionalist. Now, this group values tradition and wants a service that honors their loved one's legacy in a time-honored way, right? That's the typical traditionalist. Then we have the budget conscious. This is where cost is really front and center. This happens a lot with unexpected funerals. And for this group, transparency and affordability are crucial. You have to have words in there like no hidden fees, transparent pricing, right? And you have immediate need, right? This avatar represents families who are in urgent need of the funeral services. Someone just passed away, not necessarily budget conscious, but they need fast responses. They want immediate arrangements. They need 24/7 support. Then you have the environmentalist. This is actually something that's growing recently. Eco-friendly practices, and there are people out there who are looking for like green burial options or environmentally conscious services. The celebrant. Some families prefer a personalized or unique celebration of life rather than a traditional funeral service. And they're going to look for words like personalized memorials and celebration of life. And then we have the non-traditionalists, right? This group includes people, who are non-religious, unconventional services. They're looking for alternative funerals, creative memorials, things like that. Military and veteran families, right? How you write that ad is going to be important for families of veterans, those people with a military background. They're looking specifically for things like military honors in those ads. And then there's a long distance arranger, right? This is the avatar that represents individuals who need to plan a funeral from far away, maybe from another state or country. And they really need, they really want the online stuff, right? They want the online arrangements, virtual support, and whatnot. So now that we went through the avatars, where are you going to take them, right? If you just take them to your website, chances are they're going to get confused. There's just too much going on. There's too much to look at. They can get distracted. They may go away. You want to capture them while they're looking now. So landing pages is really what I think will differentiate the experience, most likely between you and other funeral homes, because quite frankly, very few funeral homes use this. So you would take them to a landing page that also matches what they were looking for. It matches the copy, it matches the keywords, and you're not giving them a million other pages to access. You take them to the page that matches what they want. You basically, you have a very strong call to action. If you look on this page that you see on your screen, there are three call to actions here, and they're all pretty much the same. Request service, will dial the number. Call now on the upper right-hand corner, will dial the number. Get special offer now, should dial the number. All of this has to be clear and gets them just to take the action and get on the phone with you. And so, this is just another example. And I do think that, there's nothing wrong with having your personality and authenticity on the landing page, but it doesn't have to be as much as your website. It's just, a simple version of that. And again, the idea would be just fill out this form or call us. That's it. So hopefully that gives you some details on why some campaigns fail, how you would, want to structure it, really, match up the quality score to the relevancy, reduce the average cost per lead, but also to maximize your conversion from click to lead, and then have the tracking in place to optimize the results. Some things that you may want to ask your provider, if you're thinking about hiring a company to do this for you, I would highly recommend that you hire a company, because doing this yourself can be a daunting task. Even if you have a full-time dedicated director of marketing, speaking to somebody that understands the nuances of Google Ads and can really spend the time and energy to optimize the campaigns, make the adjustments, get all the tracking in place. It's kind of a rare person that can actually do that. And people who do that for agencies like ours actually get paid very well for this particular role. So, if you're not doing it in-house, these are some questions that I would ask a contractor. First of all, how much of my budget is going to Google Ads versus management fees? If you don't have access to that data, I think that's a problem. If you're just saying like, there's $10,000, go figure out how to generate me sales, and they're not telling you this is going to, this much is going to retargeting, this much is going to Google Ads, and this is what we get paid as an agency. To me, that's just lack of transparency, and that leads to a conflict of interest. So you want to know, like, how much is going to what? What type of tracking will you have in place? Do you do Google Ad and web form tracking for me? If they're not tracking it and they're going to say, yes, I track it, but the conversions don't flow back into Google Ads, that's important, right? As I mentioned, that has a lot to do with optimization. Are you making optimization decisions based on the information on the conversions that are going back to Google Ads? How are you tracking KPIs, and what KPIs do you track? What are you looking for? Is there any type of reporting or dashboard that I can see, where we're spending our money, what our average cost per lead is? Where will you be sending our visitors? People are clicking on our ads. Are they going to our website? Are they going to a specific landing page? You may hear people say, when someone searches for cremation, we're sending them to this particular page on your website. And you may want to tell them, we have these other ideas, let's have a landing page for them. Now, if they're just mapping everything to your homepage, that's just a big red flag. If they're mapping, cremation, pre-need, everything right to your homepage, I would definitely talk to them about the user experience there. You want to ask them, do they split test ads? For each of the ad groups, are they split testing the ads? This is important because if they're not split testing, they've got like a couple of ads they've basically just run, and they're not optimizing to figure out what's going on to get higher click-through rate, which ultimately is going to drive better relevancy and more leads for you. with the same amount of money. Ask them, will they be leveraging ad extensions? Now, we talked about that, right? What about targets? What are we shooting for? What am I looking for in terms of average cost per lead? What's my projected return on investment? You know, Quality paid search people will have great answers and solutions for these questions. So definitely look for these things. If people aren't measuring the KPIs, don't have conversions in place, and they're just throwing things up, that's just a huge red flag. And that's where people just lose a lot of money on pay-per-click advertising when it's run that way. Okay, so we talked about the hierarchy of your paid strategy. We talked about actually running ads in addition to that. And I really think that we want to make sure we're using retargeting and automation. I think if you're spending even $1,000 to $2,000 a month and we don't have retargeting in place, we're going to be leaving money on the table. And so retargeting basically is, when someone goes onto your website, after 15 minutes, they go cold. So the average customer has to be touched 5 to 7 times before they actually book a call. And today's customer, especially Generation X, which are, as we see, are the ones who are coming up and making the decisions now, they prefer to contact you or interact via text, right? Rather than phone. So yeah, we want to optimize for phone calls, but if they don't answer, we want to be able to send them a text as well right away. And really, we'll be seeing the highest conversion rate in our customer base if we have all of these automations and things in place. And then, as I mentioned, retargeting, getting people on the website that don't convert. And then we want to start hitting them with those banner ads. I mean, this is a really low cost way to do it. And they'll just start seeing you everywhere. And that way, at least you're top of mind when it comes back to making that decision. And again, if we get people who don't convert, but they're still in market, just make sure that you have all of the sizes of the banner ads, which I've included here. So those are just the typical sizes that you can either have a designer make for you. And marketing automation. So we actually use our own marketing automation platform for the most part. We developed it ourselves, but the idea is that if someone comes in, they make a phone call, you, for whatever reason, couldn't answer, that an SMS goes out to them right away. Okay. There's automated follow-up that's always happening. If they fill out a web form and they'd like to set up a time or they have a question, you have an automated response so that, again, you're front and center. So that's a scoop, right? That's the accelerated growth model specifically, for paid ads. We talked about local service ads. We talked about Google ads. We talked about how to structure your campaigns and why most Google ad campaigns fail. We talked about retargeting and automation and how that's going to level up the results that you generate if you're doing Google ads. And if you need some help with any of this, feel free to reach out. Feel free to, comment in the comments. You can also go to our website. We are offering also a free marketing plan review. We will actually take a look at your website. We'll take a look at, your SEO rankings. We can look at how your Google ads are structured. If you're running Google ads, try to find some low-hanging fruit for you. We do this for you free of charge. We give you this roadmap, and then you can implement it yourself if you like. If you'd like to have us do it for you, we can talk about what that would look like as well. You can schedule a call with us by going to funeralmarketingpros.com/strategy. So that's it for now. Thank you so much. Also, feel free to call us at 855-674-1008. And I have plenty of these trainings coming out every month. So just make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe to our newsletter to find out more. Have a great one. Bye-bye.